Hey guys, welcome back to Ponderings from Palm Coast. I'm Mark Webb, and I want to thank you for being here today. Hopefully you're staying warm. We've had some fun, chilly temperatures, but it hasn't snowed here, so I'm grateful for that. So today, I want to introduce you to a good friend of mine who's running for school board here in Flagler County, Cathy Moon. Cathy, thanks for coming. I really appreciate you giving us some time to share a little bit about what your thoughts are, school board, which I will be honest and tell you, I have little knowledge in school. My kids left school like 30 years ago. So, but I know it is an important aspect as education has been all over the news for some pretty tough reasons. So Cathy, introduce yourself. Where are you from? How'd you get to Palm Coast?
Thank you, Mark. I'm originally from West Virginia, but I've lived in West Virginia, South Dakota, back to Virginia, and now Florida. I came, retired and moved to Palm Coast in 2017. My husband and I started a small business. So we ended that in 2024, and that's why I now feel like I have the time to give back to the community.
Absolutely. As we all do, and you hear me talk about this all the time, find a place, find a spot that isn't on your couch screaming at the local news every day, because we need you. We need you. So what made you decide to run for this position?
I started attending the school board meetings last fall, and I was actually very impressed with things that I learned about the schools and opportunities they offer here. I love the idea that they're not just looking for the students to get a diploma, but a diploma plus. They want each child to be thinking about what are they going to do after high school. Some are enrolled in the local college, getting college credits. Some are graduating from high school with their associate's degree. Some are involved in the technical school and learning a trade. So I love that they offer so many opportunities. And then I too, it's been a while since my children were in school, so I was learning how this local school board works. Every state I've lived in, it's been a little bit different, how things are done. So I wanted to understand the process here and see if there was a place where my skill set might be of value to the school board. And I learned some amazing things. For example, graduation rates are increasing. That's wonderful.
That is, especially after the pandemic.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So that was an excellent opportunity. And then at the most recent meeting, they were talking about things like they had 3 construction projects they had just completed. They came in between the 3 over $1 million under budget on those 3 projects. So it's excellent to see them, being such careful guardians of the public money and ensuring that projects, and that's kind of tough in this environment because the addition for Matanzas, that was a bigger project. So that had to be planned further in advance, and costs have fluctuated on things recently, so it could easily have had cost overruns, but they did not. And another thing they shared at that particular meeting was operational efficiencies. So they were talking specifically about the lunch lines. Some of the students want their time with their friends, so they skip lunch because it takes too long to get through the line. Oh. So they're trying to improve the efficiency of the line so the students can grab something and still have some time with their friends. In the Postal Service, I worked on operational efficiency. So immediately my ears perked up when they started talking about that. And I feel like that's something that I can bring to the process is understanding those types of processes, how to improve things incrementally, but incrementally a little faster line for each student means a better process. The kids get to spend time with their friends, and it works well for everyone.
Wow. And you learn these things by going to the meeting.
Absolutely.
And listening to it, because I'm going to be honest and tell you, I'm not that up to speed on the school board and what its purpose is other than what we see on the news and all of the local control being taken away by Tallahassee. But it sounds like there still is a very important aspect of that board and decisions. What other things have you discovered while you've been going to the board that you think you could really affect or help?
Let me share a little bit about my educational
Absolutely.
background, which I think is relevant to this question. So, I, when I was in school, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. I was in the Future Teachers of America. I went off to college. I got my undergraduate degree in health and safety education. And my intent was that I was going to teach, but while going to school, I started working part-time with the Postal Service. So that's actually where I ended up spending my time. But I have a deep commitment for teachers. When I was young, very young, when I first started school, my mother was very sick for 2 years. She was gone the better part of 2 years. So my dad did the best he could with 3 kids. Mm-hmm. But I was the youngest, and he would have to drop me at school early sometimes, really early, an hour, 2 hours early. And we all know from things that have been in the news recently how vulnerable little girls can be when they're in places where no one's really watching over them. So I was fortunate, though. I could have fallen through the cracks there, but I didn't, because a teacher invited me into her classroom. She said, if your dad needs to drop you early, you come here, you sit with me, you read, and I will do my lesson plans and grade papers and things, and you'll be fine here. She even brought a comb in so that she could comb my hair if my dad forgot to do it that morning, which he sometimes did. So that was a very early impact on me by teachers, and it made a profound difference in my life. I could have fallen through the cracks, but I didn't, because a teacher cared. And no one gets credit for that anywhere. No one puts that on something they turn in a report and says, I watched over this student. And then when I was in high school, I had a school counselor that really took an interest in me. And I would stop in 2 or 3 times a week, and we would just chit-chat. And she nominated me for a leadership program. And I feel like she saw something in me that I couldn't yet see in myself, but it made a huge difference. And so those things really helped form my desire to become a teacher, although I didn't end up following that. Can you repeat your actual question, because at a different point?
Well, no, you're doing great.
Okay.
You've make me think, and I hope it's making you think. We all have those memories of when we were touched positively, mm-hmm. hopefully positive, of a teacher's involvement, whether it be sports or some other curriculum, because a lot of people don't realize that most children spend most of their time not in their home, but in schools and around teachers. And the teaching profession is such an important and should be funded and supported at a much higher level. But I'm a big proponent in involvement. Go to the city council, go to county commissioner, go to the school boards, so that you can understand and see the process. And you were sharing how you had been going to the boards mm-hmm. and experiencing things like your story about the lunchroom, which I had never even considered or thought, but I can tell you, I was the social animal and never, I would go in and get a roll and then go and play with my friends and then be starving by the time I got home.
Mm-hmm. So I have that undergraduate degree in health and safety education, and really health and safety should be at the forefront of every single decision a school board looks at, because if we're not keeping the students safe and healthy, then we've failed.
Right.
I also have a graduate certificate in human resources, and that is relevant to the school board because just in the last meeting, they were looking at a new job posting for human resource director. And so a member of the public even stood up and suggested that they should add to their posting that the successful candidate should either have or be willing to obtain a certification of some sort, either from SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Managers, or another equivalent organization, so that they ensured that the person was, familiar with the laws and all that kind of thing. So I have a background and an understanding of the policies and the laws for human resources, and that can be helpful. And I also have an MBA, Master's in Business Administration, and that really hardened my understanding of budgets, financial, fiscal management, and I used a lot of those skills in my prior work experience.
Yeah, and I think all of those are very important and very value added. But I know you, and you have passion.
I do.
and caring and empathy for what is going on with our young people and what's happening, and finding ways to positively touch not only the educators, the teachers who are struggling, but also the children. Whether, as you talked about, the young people not eating because they're interested in doing something else. That is a message that I think is strong, and what voters need to be aware of, that we do have a say, we do have an investment in the value. I was talking to somebody recently who didn't realize how much money, and it's tax time, everybody's paying their property taxes, and how much of your tax dollars, your property tax, goes to support and fund our schools. And so on the economic side, for your MBA and your ability to find value added stuff is huge, because most people don't think about all the money that they get. So, I applaud you for that, and I don't doubt for a minute that you don't bring positive and thought-provoking processes to the need. And you learn that by going to the board, to the school board, and participating and listening to that?
Yes.
So, how many years were you with the post office?
28 years.
28 years? Oh my God. And what kind of things did you do then?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I started as a letter carrier, even though I had a college degree. Often employees must come in at the hourly wage level. And then I worked my way up to the district office. I worked a number of years in marketing. Many people are surprised to hear that the Postal Service markets itself, but they have business customers, and they needed to be educated about the best way, how they could find savings on their mailings, and I did a lot of that kind of work. Then I moved on up to the area office, and I worked on a lot of training. So my education degree came into play as I did a lot of training in the whole DC metro area for our employees about how to give better customer service, how to not do the next, and instead, how can I help the next customer? Just to put a better face on the organization. And eventually I moved up to headquarters. So I've worked in delivery, marketing, retail, logistics, operations, and my final position there was as an executive. It was called Manager of Integration, Operations, Integration, and Support. And that's a fancy name that just says that I led a team where we worked with all the biggest customers the Postal Service has across the whole nation to try to work with them so they could maximize their savings, but we could also have them prep the mail in the best possible way to improve efficiencies in our system so that their mail would flow through easily, we'd reduce our costs. And I have a black belt in Lean Six Sigma and continuous improvement. And I believe that's carried through everything I do in my life, the continuous improvement. Our schools here are good. They have some excellent track records on things, but there is always room for improvement. So you're always looking for those incremental improvements, either in getting the kids through the lunch line a little bit faster so they might be willing to pop in and grab that whatever snack that they would prefer and go on out and have their social time, or whether it's looking at transportation or there are so many opportunities because they have a full operation that they run to look at how can we save money without reducing services to students, without reducing salaries to teachers, without driving the class size up to 50. How can we find ways to do that so that we don't have to turn to the taxpayers and say that we need more money? The voucher system has created some challenges, financial challenges for the school systems. And that's where I really think that my skill set comes into play. At the Postal Service, I ran a small team where we formed cross-functional teams, and we looked at how can we improve efficiencies. And in 3 years, we drove $475 million worth of costs out of the Postal Service using those techniques.
Well, that's amazing for a federal company. The post office is your post office. It's funded and supported by federal dollars.
Actually, people are more amazed to learn it is not.
Well,
It's solely through the sale of stamps, postage. And so it must find ways to maximize efficiency because it can't turn and ask for more
Interesting.
tax dollars.
No, I thought it was another federal funded.
They get some small amounts
Challenge.
of money, like for our elected officials are able to send certain things through the mail without paying postage,
Right.
so they get reimbursed for that.
I see.
And there's materials for the blind; they travel free of charge, so they're reimbursed for those things, but they're minor in the scope of the total.
So, getting back to your candidacy. So, what district are you running in for school board?
I'll be representing District 1, but it's important for voters to understand that though we want someone elected from each of the 5 districts, all the voters in Flagler County are eligible to sign petitions for all the 5 districts. They're eligible to vote for all 5 districts.
How you doing with the petition efforts?
It's going pretty good. I've already handed in over 100. I've got another 100 at my home to drop this week. And we have some events planned this week where we're going to be meeting some more voters and getting those. And I'm enjoying that process because it gives me an opportunity to talk to the people of Flagler County and to hear their experiences with the schools, what they're concerned about, what they would like to see offered for their child. I ran across one lady who was telling me they just relocated here because the schools are so good. And I wouldn't have these engagements if I wasn't out talking to the voters directly to get the petition signatures.
Absolutely.
You know, as candidates, we have an option to just pay a fee and get on the ballot. But I prefer to deal with the 968 ballots or petitions that I need to have signed because it's driving engagement and I enjoy it. It lifts me personally.
Absolutely. Have you discovered any kind of aha moments or things that citizens have shared with you that you weren't aware of that they were experiencing within the school district?
Most of the comments that I have heard have been positive. Some people's child has recently graduated and gone on to college, and they felt like they had a good, solid foundation for their college experience. The only one I've talked to that expressed some real concern because they had relocated here, as their children were trying to navigate that last process in high school, and you have an opportunity to have your diploma held, and then you can do another year in some programs. But her son, because they were new, he didn't know the fine points of doing that. So I saw that as an opportunity where we just need to make sure, especially if we have new students transferring in their junior or senior year, that we make sure they understand the opportunities available to them and how to maximize those for their future.
Right. Have you been able to reach out to any of the teacher associations or gotten involved with them at all?
I have reached out, and I think I'm going to get an opportunity to speak with them. I've met with some individual teachers. I've met with school board members and past school board members because I want to hear everyone's thoughts. The more we can learn about what has worked in the past, what hasn't, don't bother with that. It's a waste of time. Or I think we should build on this or do more of that. Very helpful to me, especially not having had my children go to school here.
Right. But having school-age kids and going through them, we all have experiences. I was a single dad for a little while and raising 2 boys and being heavily involved in the after-school sports program, volunteering for that. I got to learn a lot about the infrastructure and the support and elements and the challenges that a lot of the teachers have and them being able to embrace things like curriculum and all the stuff, which I know that I believe the state sets most of the basic curriculum guidelines mostly, and then the school board gets to put their fingerprints on some of that.
Yes,
too.
my understanding is there are approved materials, but there are some choices in those materials. So they use committees, and they even invite input from the public, from
Right,
parents to come in and look over the materials. You can literally go into a library, sit and look over the materials. There's a lot of stuff available online for parents who, obviously work and can't come in during the day when the school board office is open. When the school district office is open. So we need more of that community engagement.
Absolutely.
We collectively need to engage with our schools and our cities and counties. We need to be more engaged locally and paying more attention, offering our thoughts, because there are people who want to hear them. I want to hear them. I want to engage with more parents, teachers, staff, people in the community, so that I better understand what people want to see built upon, what they feel maybe is not something that's terribly useful. And a lot of that's through data. They taught us in the Postal Service to always look at the data. Don't go with your gut instincts, because they're not always right. I found if you talk to the leadership, sometimes they believe, oh, this is how it works out there. But then you talk to, you look at the manuals. You say, let me look at the standard operating procedure or the manual for this. Well, that doesn't exactly agree with what they told me here at the top. And then you go talk to the people actually doing the work. And it's completely different from either the other two things that you took. And that's where you learn the most, because often those people will say, I've never understood why we don't do X. In the Postal Service, we found that we had postmasters who were required to do these 8-page daily reports. But we said, well, some of that data we absolutely have to have, and there's nowhere else to get it. So we tried to trim that down to a 1-pager, because we needed them engaged with their employees and with their customers, not tied to a computer or pieces of paper. So I'm looking to bring some of that same training and skill set and mindset to our schools.
Yeah. So as you've been participating, sitting in, and watching the school boards, which I applaud you for that. I sit in a lot of meetings, and some of them are challenging at best. Have you heard or have you been made aware of certain challenges or things that are going on that you think you may be able to bring your talents to?
I have. And I've found, I don't know how it works with the city council, but with the school board, there are actually 3 meetings a month. One is an agenda setting workshop, so they're looking at what's going to be on the agenda for the upcoming, usually 2 weeks out of the upcoming meeting. But the workshop on the day of the actual meeting, which is held in the afternoons, to me is the most value. In the evening, that meeting is more of the formality. So often they're voting on entire groups of things that they've already discussed previously. And they're just saying, yes, we agree to advance all of those. They can choose to, and then the last one someone did, say, I would like to separate this one item out, which was the posting for the human resource manager, and they did decide to revise their post and include a requirement that either arrive with a certification in human resources or agree to get one within a fixed time period. So I found those of value because they talk more in depth at the workshops. And there's been discussions around budget. I was late in the budgeting process for this school year, because I didn't start going to the fall. We're getting ready to start the budgeting process for the coming year. But still, they would look at how are we performing to the budget in this area, and that was a value. And they've talked about the difficulties created by the vouchers. For example, there are students, they would receive a report from the state that would list these students are on a voucher program. They're either being homeschooled or in a private school. The school would look at them and say, no, these 10 students are here. So they'd get a follow-up to that. Well, no, they can't be because they're on they're on this program. No, they're here again today.
Yeah.
So that is the challenge, and I'm really a bit of a data geek. I actually enjoy spreadsheets that most people despise, but I like digging into data and finding the story, and it's through data. Not that everything can be measured, and there's touch points like happened to me when I was a young student that you can't measure, but still data does guide us, and by using data and starting with a process that says, okay, here's where we are, and we make some changes, and we have to look at, did it make any improvement? And if it didn't, then if it was costing us anything to do the new thing, we need to stop and we need to look at a different solution.
Now you're leaning on your black belt.
I am, yes.
Which I'm very familiar as a quality assurance manager for 30 years.
Yes.
I carried all those myself.
Yes.
And that's important to just look at the actual data, whether it's attendance or whether it's absentees or funding, and not getting more involved in just looking at the raw data. And that's important. And I believe you have a strong skill set in helping you do that. Because we need to simplify what the school board is about and what its purpose, its mission, to educate our young people to be successful after they leave and after they go. So, Cathy, what do you want people to know about you? What do you want people to know that you deserve to have that seat on the board to make an impact? What's your passion? What is it you think you can, everybody gets behind what I like to call that big boulder to push it uphill, and we all have a purpose or a goal and how to do that. Where do you fit into that? Where do you hope? What is your drive to run for this office and to make the school board better?
That was a lot of things combined into
Well, it's all
it.
one thing. What drives you? Because I know you, and you are passionate and driven and focused, and now you've taken this huge leap, and I applaud you, and others need to consider that as well.
They do.
What is it that drives you to get up every morning and knock on doors or get petitions done? What can you do for us?
One thing I noticed looking at the existing school board members is there's a variety of backgrounds, and that's good because a team shouldn't exist of 5 people who are identical because there'll be this huge gap in skill sets over here. So we have an educator who's on the school board. We have a realtor. We have someone who's been in a small business. We have a medical. I feel like my piece of what I bring fills in some of what I perceive to be gaps there of not having deep budget experience. I managed a budget of $280 million. So I know how to look at a budget and to find those little pockets where sometimes you can squeeze that one without hurting anything, and you can move that money over here. I feel like that is important. I have a passion for improving the outcomes of the students, especially the students in general. We're improving our graduation rates. We've got these great programs, but some of the students on the fringe, the marginalized students, I have concerns about those, and I want to make sure that we don't just feel like that we're at 99%, so that's good enough. No, we need to focus also on the marginalized students. I was learning about some of the programs for the exceptional students, and they seem to have very robust programs for the students who need extra attention, or they're on their individual education plans. And in the high school levels, they have the baccalaureate program, things for the gifted students. But my understanding is in the elementary school population, we don't have any programs for like gifted students. And it's important to recognize those talents early and challenge those kids, because you think, well, a gifted kid, it's easy for them. They can just cakewalk through school, but many of them don't because they're so bored that they dropped out.
Yeah.
And my son is gifted, and that's why I focused on that a bit, because those students, if they're not challenged, will disengage. And we need to keep them engaged and get them up to the high school level where there is so much more for them.
Sure. No, that's a passion of mine as well. Boredom is a challenge, and also you've got the issues with the spectrum, and we're so much society-wise, we're so smarter today than when you and I had children. I'm dyslexic. My mother was a psychologist and had no idea back in the 50s and 60s when I was going to school. They didn't know what that was. And now we have the spectrum and the challenges, and our schools need to be pliable and focused and aware of these challenges and have the right programs available, the right educators available that can spot this and help people. And fortunately for me, surprisingly, the military flattened out my educational challenges because of the way they taught in the schools they have were to meet the lowest level. So I remember getting instructional guides that were all written with blanks, and then we would go through the class and fill in the blanks, and then I had a printed version to study by. Because as dyslexic, I couldn't read any of this stuff. And I saw that as an effort by educational institution to be aware of the challenges kids have and to be able to put those in place. So that's amazing. I'm so happy you've stepped up. So, in talking with exceptional children, and that's on the high end and on the low end, do you feel that at Flagler County and within the school that they're sensitive to those needs and is focusing on them enough, you think?
Well, I haven't been in depth into the program, but on the surface, it does seem like they're very focused on that. And I was pleased to learn that here in Flagler County, they have paraprofessionals who come into the classroom too, and they are providing extra attention to those students, helping them where they may be struggling to read some passage or understand the material or whatever need there might be. They are assigned a small group of children, sometimes one paraprofessional for one student for the day, if that's the level of need that is required. Many times they're supporting, say, 4 or 5 students, and they move around among sometimes a couple of classrooms, helping those students. And I think that's a phenomenal program. That did not exist when my kids were going to school. But there's always room for improvement. So I would love to hear from some of the parents who are struggling with that system, and what do they think would be a better way to help their student or a group of students move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I used to always talk about the 90-10 rule, right? Mm-hmm. Where 10% of the kids in the classroom get 90% of the teacher's efforts and challenges. And it's an ongoing thing. And I believe that we need to take our school, Flagler County Schools, and the responsibility of the board members and the people that are involved very serious and more involved. And it's something that I think we all need to be smarter for. And I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
You made me think of something there. I've started going to PTO meetings.
And that's what?
Parent-teacher organization meetings. And I've been to 2 different of the elementary schools, and it's kind of disappointing to see how few people are there.
Yeah.
I mean, no more than 10 at the biggest one I've been to, and as few as like 5, So I think if we need to engage even people who don't have children, a lot of seniors, who've retired here, they have great skill sets. They've raised children. They could contribute to the schools. We need to engage more. One of the PTOs told me that they had tried to reach out to their school board liaison. Each one has a member of the school board and I invite them to come to the PTO, and they had not come, and they were disappointed. And she had simply invited me on Facebook to come, and I did, and they were impressed that I showed up. But it was wonderful. They were excited about a recent fundraiser they had done, the money they had raised, and what that was going to mean they could do for the students at the end of the year. For end of year activities and field trips and those kinds of things. And they also had a presentation about Title I. The principal came in and did a presentation about Title I schools and where they were on their requirements. She talked about the testing that's been done. So it's really been good to engage and learn where our schools are today, where they would like to be, and what kind of resources, being community resources or money or whatever, that we need to bring to the table to better serve.
Right. So you talk about Title I. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Is it a mandate or a direction of services? Is that what that's about?
To my understanding, Title I is predominantly about money. So it's monetary resources that come to schools that serve a higher level, a higher percentage of students who are at a certain ranking on the poverty line. So they pour additional resources into there to lift those students, because studies have shown that your zip code has a lot to do with how successful you will be in life and whether you're going to get into one of the better schools simply because of the advantage you were born into. So they're trying to lift these students to give them additional support and opportunities, maybe additional resources, additional educators that come in to the schools to offer extra programs.
Wow.
And I saw that all of our middle school and elementary schools are Title I, with the exception of Old Kings Elementary and Indian Trails.
So basically, Title I could be a labeling of a condition or financial situation that a school or the environment in that school may be struggling with, because the school in the hammocks is not going to be the same as the school in South Bunnell because of the interest. But one of the things that in thinking about our conversation, is the visibility of the Flagler County schools and the school board. Do they have town hall meetings? Does the board go out and set up meetings like I know with the city council, and now the Flagler commissioners are attempting to start reaching out and being involved and visible for the citizens? Does the school board do that?
It's a great question, and I've only been involved, since last fall, but I've not seen notice of anything like that. I have been to a presentation that the superintendent of schools came out and did. I was very impressed. Shared a lot of statistics, showing a lot of good things about the schools. I remember one challenge she talked about, though, that students who come into kindergarten and did not go to the voluntary pre-kindergarten programs that are offered, they will come in at a disadvantage, and when you check those same students 8 years into their schooling, they are still behind.
Right.
So it's very important that we help everyone who comes into the community to understand these programs are out there and they're free.
Right.
For you can put your child in the program. Don't start them off at a disadvantage that will carry through with them for years.
Yeah, the pre-K is huge. Both my boys went to the Montessori program early. I mean, 4, 3.5, 4, 5, and they learned the structure of how the school was. That you got in line, and that you learned to sit at your table, and you learned to be quiet when things are happening.
Yes.
And those are fundamental, base, necessary things. So I'm a huge believer, and both of them carried that skill set with them, and both went on to college and are doing fine. Cathy, thanks for coming.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having me.
sharing. I know that this is the first introduction. There's going to be many others. And any final thoughts? I know that do you feel like there was anything else you wanted to touch base on?
I would say that I wanted to have some early. This is only week 3 of this campaign.
Exactly. Hey, yeah.
I like to refer to it as the new moon phase.
Everybody has a day one, right?
Yes, exactly. We have to start somewhere. But I'm beginning to look at the things that I think I want to focus on. Student success, of course, but also teacher retention.
Right.
There's a bit of a morale issue with our teachers, and we need to look at that. We seem to get a lot of new teachers, just out of college who want to come here, and they come to work for Flagler, but they don't stay here. I don't have any data on that, but I want to take a look at that and find if there are things we can do. And I've talked a little bit about the fiscal responsibility, but also community partnerships, and they do some of that. I don't want to discount the work they're already doing to partner with the college who's here, with certain other businesses for opportunities for the students, but more community engagement, more people engaged with our schools and trying to lift them up. I have a friend who told me that she's also considering running for school board. And I encouraged her. I said, you should. Absolutely. We need a lively discussion and engagement. Voters need choices. So she asked me, well, how have you found the process so far? I'm like, it's a bit of a struggle understanding all the rules around it, but I'm finding that people are willing to step up and help you. People will teach you. People who were on the board before will work with you. So it's not as daunting as it might seem like it would be. And she's like, but I was never a teacher. But I explained to her, there's a variety of backgrounds that end up on the school board, and each one brings their own thing to it. So I'm trying to convince her, come on, do this with me. It'll be fun.
Yeah, no, you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
And I've lived that for a long time, but it's never stopped me from starting a podcast, moving to Florida, or those kind of things that I call, step out the box. Challenge yourself. Find a gift, find a passion that you will get something out of it. It's hard work, but it's so rewarding.
Yes.
And so if you can spend a little time and get involved and volunteer and participate and especially with the young people and touching our kids as you shared. And I think we all have one of these memories of that one teacher that touched you, that turned your head around, that got you on a certain direction. It always blows my mind when I talk to somebody and say, well, you know, Mrs. Jordan from my first grade class 60 years ago left an impression on me. And I think the value of education at all levels is huge. And it's sad that we don't see the level of participation, especially in the things that are going on today. So there are candidates, there are seats available for you to run, for you to get motivated, for you to reach out and go, I've got the time to possibly be a school board or a city council or a county commissioners. Those are participation locations and areas for you to get involved with.
And you know, some people think, well, I would love to do it, but my family needs me to work or needs me to provide health insurance. And they're shocked to learn that the school board positions are paid. It's a $40,000 a year salary and carries health insurance. So I don't want someone to let that cause them not to run because they think, I can't give up my job because I provide the family's health insurance.
Yeah, no, I did not know that. So Cathy, how can people help you be successful? Early days.
It is.
You're developing a Webb page.
Yes.
And a way for people to fund you, get you some money so that you can push these beautiful, beautiful T-shirts and let people know. How are you doing on that building process?
We are working on the website now. We hope to have at least the shell of it up and functional in the next week. I'm on Facebook. I have a candidate page there. Cathy Moon, I think it's the number 4, Flagler Schools. And we have, I have my Gmail account, which I don't have laying right here in front of me. Not my Gmail, it's an Outlook. I have given it to...
Well, we can get that. We can put that up on the podcast.
Okay.
To let people know. Absolutely. And so...
Yeah, so on Facebook, it's Cathy Moon, candidate for Flagler County School Board. On, what is that? Oh, on my website will be Cathy Moon, the number 4, flaglerschoolboard.com. And you can reach me at Cathy Moon, the number 4, flaglerschools at outlook.com.
Absolutely. So I know you're going to be everywhere all the time.
Everywhere,
have a
all
great
at once.
conversation. This is just the first taste of a new school board candidate, Cathy Moon. I've made a commitment to try to bring as many possible candidates. So it is important that we realize how these elections are held here in Florida, that on the primary, August 18th, for city council and for school board and county commissioners, you can actually vote. And if the candidate gets 51% of the votes, they could be elected right then and there, or there'll be a runoff in the November. So August is important, and voting is hugely important. If you aren't registered, if you don't have your vote by mail in, do it today. Get yourself listed for a variety of reasons, very few of which means you actually have to use the ballot in the mail to support our mail. But final thoughts. We need more Cathy Moons to run for office and to be an option of difference with views in today's elected positions, from county commissioners all the way down to the school board. They matter. The school board spends your money. You pay property taxes. I think the millage is like 3 or 4% right now. We've been hearing all this about property taxes. But it's your money. They're the children of our future. And so I applaud her for stepping up and for throwing her hat in the ring. Been bugging her about it for a while now. And you out there too. If you think that you can bring value, you need to look into running for office. Candidates are the greatest act of demonstration of value. So guys, any last thoughts, Cathy?
I don't know. It seems like we've touched on the points that I was hoping we would touch on today. I'm just excited for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for the future of our kids. Everything I do, I approach with probably too much passion and excitement, but I think that's important. I energize other people. At the post office, they would often put me into a unit that was really struggling, into a position that was like the worst. And so they would say, if you can't fix it, it's okay, because no one else could either.
What a challenge,
Yeah,
huh?
but I always would jump in there, and the first thing I had to do was to help the staff believe we could make it different, that we could work, we can do this.
Right.
And we did do it. I went into a unit in Cap Metro where the area was the worst in the country. They were divided into 7 areas at the time. And within a year, we were first in the country. And I believe a good part of it is just helping restore people's hope and belief that it can be different than it is today. It can be better.
Right.
And we are the people to make it happen.
Absolutely.
We can.
And I believe you are. And I know
Thank
you. And there is nothing that replaces passion, not education, not experience. So if you have a heart to volunteer, if you have a need to get out there and change just a little bit, there's a place for you. Mm-hmm. Cathy, thanks for coming and visit today.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated. I know we'll have you back in the next few months as things kind of solidify and clarify. Mm-hmm. The clock is ticking, and we're definitely excited moving forward. And that brings me to homework for you. Find candidates.
Yes.
Find someone, it may be you, that has the time or the bandwidth or the passion to reach out. We need more candidates running for school board, city council, mm-hmm. county commissioners. We don't want to just see incumbents who've been there for year after year to continue what we have going on here in Palm Coast or in Flagler County. I don't know about you, but I would love to see some change. I would love to see some energized thoughts, and I believe you're going to bring that to the table. So guys, with that, remember, please like and subscribe, and most importantly, leave comments. Let me know what we can do better. I need your feedback.
Continuous improvement.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. There, she's throwing more quality things to you. So guys, you take care of yourself, stay warm, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time. See you later.